What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and stimulus check update. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. And remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, thanks for hitting the like button for us down below, and let's jump right in. We're going to have a big stimulus check update for you in this video, and White House Secretary of State and Defense Secretary Anthony Blinken and Lloyd Austin are in Ukraine right now, in the city of Kyiv, the capital city. That's correct, on a very dangerous mission. Kyiv just had Kyiv just got bombed literally a few days ago. And yeah, very dangerous mission here. Um, I know you can't make this stuff up here. You can see the headline right here. So, top U.S. officials are in Ukraine at this moment. That's right. It comes as many Ukrainians are celebrating Orthodox Easters despite Russia, who continues to attack them. President Zelensky says, quote, "We are enduring dark times. On this bright day, most of us are not in bright clothes." Zelensky said here yesterday on Sunday, quote, "But we are fighting for a bright idea. On the bright side and the truth, people and the Lord and the holy heavenly light are on our side." Yeah, and yet Russian President Putin just continues to bomb them every day, every day. And in fact, there's actually a mass grave being sighted now in the city of Mariupol. It's really sad. It just continues to go on there. Can let me know your thoughts here on maybe some bright news. The cost of oil has been sinking down below. We know, of course, if you watch my show here, the price of oil has been fluctuating a lot here lately because oil and Russia and Ukraine has a lot to do with it here, and it has been wildly fluctuating here a lot here recently. You can see here is the pretty much real-time oil prices on WTI crude and Brent crude, which are the two major indexes here. WTI crude at $99 a barrel, taking a pretty big dip here recently. Brent crude at 103. Brent crude typically is a little bit higher. Remember that the high that we had here almost 2 months ago at this point for Brent crude was 140-ish a barrel, and WTI crude was 135-ish a barrel. And you can see that they're literally down about 35%. 35%. So a huge, massive decline from the highs, but we're not really seeing a 35% decline in the price of gasoline in the US or anywhere around the world for that matter. We're just not seeing a 35% decline like we should. In fact, you can see here, this is the national average price of gas here in the US. Over the last week, we've actually gone up from 408 in the US, and this is the average price. So if you live in California, you know that your gas is a lot higher. You just have the highest price, the highest prices, the highest taxes, besides Pennsylvania, which has a slightly higher state taxes. But your gas in California is just on a whole different level. But the average price of gas here in the US has actually gone up here from 408 to 412. And you can see here the price of diesel has gone up here as well from 502 to 507. This is now only 6 cents away here from the all-time high all the way back from March 12th. And March 11th was the all-time high of regular unleaded, and that's when we were the prices of oil were 35% higher, which is when oil prices were at 135 to $140 a barrel of oil, but we're at 99 to $103 a barrel of oil. But why are gas prices still so high? This is something that we have so many people saying that the oil companies, BP, Chevron, Exxon, Shell, all these massive oil companies are gouging us because when you look at, like, for example, the price of diesel, if 513 was the high, it's still 507, almost 508. We're only 6 cents away from the all time high. These prices have not come down. These prices have not come down. And this just shows you that even though the price of oil has come down, they're still charging us premium prices. In fact, the price of gas has gone up. The price of diesel has come up. And remember, the diesel affects the price of groceries, the price of goods, the price of shoes, the price of clothing. And in fact, food prices are at an all time high now in the US and globally. The United Nations says that food prices around the world are at an all time high right now for the whole world. And shipping prices, remember, everything has to be shipped to a store via a semi truck and all sorts of transportation. This has a lot to do with it. And even though oil's come down by 35%, remember, that's how they make gas, so that's how they make diesel. We're just not seeing the savings. These oil companies are the ones seeing the profits. It's insane. It's absolutely just crazy. It's sad. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts here. We've seen a lot of states pausing their state gas taxes. A lot of states also proposing this going forward. Um, a lot of states doing stimulus checks are proposing that as well. A lot of different states do it different ways. A lot of more Republican states proposing pausing gas taxes. A lot of more Democrat states proposing stimulus checks because different people see it differently. Some states are considering both. The state of Illinois, actually, one of those. Um, but you can let me know your thoughts here. The price of gas just not coming down. Very, very little, I should say. And really, it should be down 35% ish, somewhere around there. It should be down by like around $3. And it's just not. It's just not. And with the average at $4 a gallon or higher, and of course, it depends on what state you're in, but these oil companies are just gouging us, just absolutely gouging us. And other countries have it worse. You know that the price of gas in Canada in US dollars is near $6. If you equate it to gallons, and in UK, in the United Kingdom, it's near $8 a gallon. But several different states have passed tax rebate checks or stimulus checks, whatever you want to call them. The state of Delaware, a $300 tax rebate coming to Delawareans next month as inflation relief. It'll actually be $600 to married couples here for the state of Delaware. This one is already passed, so you can get up to $600 here in the state of Delaware. You can see here rebates of $300 per person will be going out to more than 620,000 Delaware taxpayers next month under an inflation relief plan that cleared the General Assembly here recently. I think it was a couple weeks now, maybe a week or two at this point. The rebate, which lawmakers approved at first, weighing under whether to institute a gas tax holiday, will be in the form of actual checks mailed to people who filed a tax return in 2021 for the previous year earnings. The cost to the state is $186 million. In addition to the rebate for taxpayers, the state will also send $300 checks to some 168,000 adult residents who did not file a return last year. The state hopes to identify those recipients through public records such as driver's license. Now, you'll notice here that this state of Delaware is going to try to send out stimulus checks to people who don't file a tax return for this state. Okay. Um, that is what this state for Delaware is doing. Now, whether other states are going to do this, this is where you might want to research, as each state is going to be a little bit different. You could see here the state hopes to identify those recipients through public records such as driver's license. Now, whether or not this will be 100% accurate or not remains to be seen. Okay, so just keep that in mind. It's probably more accurate if you just file a tax return, but that's up to each individual person whether or not you do or not. Remember, some of these other states, some states are going to be possibly requiring you to file a tax return. So if you normally do, no big deal. But this is because they're only going to send them out to people who make under a certain amount. Okay. So if you don't normally file a tax return, you might want to consider filing for 2021, which is now, you file it now here in 2022. If your state is giving out a stimulus check here this year. Okay. If they're not, probably don't worry about it, but I'll keep you up to date here, or do some research yourself as well. But again, each person's situation is a little different, so do your own research. I'll keep you up to date here as much as I can. We're going to go over some more states here as well. Also, remember that the child tax credit on the federal level from last year, you are owed $1,500 to $1,800 from the federal government as well, but you have to file a tax return to get that, a federal tax return. Okay. So remember that if you don't do that, you won't get $1,500 to $1,800 per child. The IRS says, you can literally Google it, or just go on the IRS's website, Google IRS child tax return, or I'll show it to you here. Advanced child tax credit payments in 2021. If you receive the child tax credit payments, you can claim the rest of the child tax credit when you filed your 2021 tax return, which means you're still owed $1,500 to $1,800 per child, and you get that by filing a tax return and doing it correctly. So make sure you have somebody help you with it, or you do it with a tax software and make sure you do it correctly. Next up, the state of Alaska has approved, you can see it right here, $2,600 payments. They've only approved it in their House of Representatives. Remember that each state has their own House and Senate on the state level, and then they have their own president, which is their governor. So remember, on the federal level, or on the national level, there's a House of Representatives, a Senate, and a president. Each state has their own level as well: the state House, the state Senate, and the president, which is the governor. The Alaska House of Representative has approved their own uh, stimulus package, per se, their own budget. And in this budget has $2,600 payments, or stimulus checks, whatever you want to call it, on the House level, but they now have to vote on it on the Senate level, which they potentially could do here this week. You can see here, Anchorage Daily News, new formula for the permanent dividend payments, which is what they're calling it here, or another word for it, heads towards the Alaska Senate votes, which could happen this week. $2,600 per person. Those are the largest ones yet. That's because Alaska has like $80 billion in their state fund, because Alaska just has a lot of oil there and not that many people to live there, because, well, you can see their picture here on their wall. They're just literally covered in snow for half the year. So not that many people want to really live there in the wintertime. Ohio is bad enough in the wintertime. You can imagine Alaska. So they actually They have no state taxes and they pay their people to live there. So it's a pretty good deal if you do live there and you can bear with the winter. So they could be getting $2,600 possibly per year, every single year, even going forward. And that's where I said, like, it really depends. Like, each state may or may not be giving money, but it depends on how much money each state has, what they're using their money for, and if they're in debt or not. You kind of keep that in. That's why I'm kind of letting you guys know as I see what states are talking about spending their money on. Like Texas is building a wall, and that's going to cost billions of dollars. So you got to kind of realize what each state is spending their money on, what they want to do in the future, and you know what their goals and their priorities were. Now, in all fairness to Texas, I mean they have millions of illegal migrants coming in on a monthly basis, so it's a major problem here. But I mean, you may or may not be against that, or for it. So I mean, each person has their own priorities. Some people are for it, some people are against it. I'm not going to get into it because, it's, I could literally say, I'm for it, I'm against it. And 50% of the people would be like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're wrong. And really, I mean, it is a problem, but whether or not that you agree with them spending their money on that is, two totally different things. So uh, I digress. Next up, the state of Missouri. Republicans and Democratic leaders seem to be a little bit stuck here. Um, they're both have proposals for stimulus checks or tax credits, and they're kind of bickering between each other for the state of Missouri to figure out what they want to do between the Democrats and the Republicans. But there is potential $500 tax credits. Democrats wanted $1,000. We'll have to see what happens here. In the state of California, California stimulus checks, lawmakers are considering sending $2,000 for parents, for people with children, low income with children. And this is something being considered here for California people with stimulus, or with children and lower income. As well as I think most of us know that the governor of California is also considering $800 stimulus checks per family, which would be $400 per person. So, mom and dad could get $400 each, or grandma and grandpa could get $400 each per person, per car. Remember last year they did stimulus checks of $600 per person and an additional $500 if you had a child. But right now they're having a problem ironing out the details. California has a $45 billion surplus, which means an extra $45 billion. This is after they sent out the money last year. But same thing, last year you had to file a tax return. You had to file a tax return so that they knew the state knew how much money you earned. Okay. The problem is that if you don't file a tax return with the state, one, they might not know where you live or even if you exist. And two, they might not know what your earnings are. You could earn $1 million and they wouldn't know, or you could earn zero and they wouldn't know. So that's why you have to file a tax return for the state to know how much you earn. I do believe, you could correct me if I'm wrong here, but I've seen a bunch of people in the comments say that people on SSI in California did get the checks last year through the state, but I think it was only them because California knew what their income was, but it was only SSI, I think. I think. Um, but everybody else had to file a tax return to get their checks. But remember, you don't really need income to file a tax return. You can have an income tax return with $10 of income that you sold from a garage sale. Okay. So a lot of times the state just wants to know what your income is, and just that you made below the earned income amount so you weren't over how much the limit was. But again, everybody's situation is different. So that's why you might want to talk to a tax professional or somebody that knows your situation for your state. Because again, each state is a little bit different and your situation may be different. So just keep that in mind. But you may want to file to get a state stimulus check if your state is going to have one this year. But also remember that some states are going to have programs where they're going to try to send out checks to people who don't file. Remember, that's what the federal government did. They had that non-filer tool, and they were able to send out the checks to people who don't file. So keep that in mind. And remember, if your state does send out a stimulus check, this is something you're going to want to look into to see if you can get that check. Okay, each state's a little bit different. I'm trying to cover as many states as possible. But if your state does send out a stimulus check, you're going to want to do a little bit of your own research here to make sure you get that check. And if your state does say, hey, you just need to go ahead and file a tax return, you might want to do that if it means you're getting $1,000. New Mexico actually passed a stimulus check, $500 per person as well, and $1,000 per person as well. If you're going to get $1,000 for you and your husband per se, it might be worth doing. You file a tax return and you get $1,000. Okay, might be worth doing, right? But again, check with somebody who knows your tax situation and just say, hey, is this worth doing? Should I do this, et cetera, et cetera. Pennsylvania pushing for $2,000 stimulus checks here as well, directly from the governor. Uh, Pennsylvania Governor Wolf says that Pennsylvania should not have to choose between paying for utilities or groceries, childcare, or gas. We have the opportunity and the means to ensure they're not struggling to ensure their success, the Pennsylvania governor said. They want to use money directly from the American Rescue Plan that was sent out to the states, $500 million. And this comes directly from the Pennsylvania governor. I really like this. I want to see more states do this. And also on the federal level, I want to see them do this as well. We have over 3 million people that have signed a petition for $2,000 per month stimulus checks here as well. And the federal government can do this as well because, well, the federal government prints their own money. And the federal government is who gave all these states the money to send out these checks. So these states that are considering $2,000 stimulus checks, they got the money from the federal government because the federal government literally prints their own money, just like other countries around the world print their own money. And if anything, you print money to support your people and to support your economy. And a lot of economists are saying right now that we are headed towards recession and our economy is struggling right now. And we have 64% of people that are um, can't pay their bills, behind on bills, or are living paycheck to paycheck. And we have millions and millions of people that have signed a petition. In fact, it is one of the highest petitions signed ever in the history of the world, saying we need support from our government. Yeah. And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi just recently said they are considering a forced stimulus check, and it is better for them to send out checks instead of pausing the gas tax on the federal level. Some states have done that, and it's better than doing nothing. Definitely, you save money. I'm all for anybody saving money on any level. But Nancy Pelosi said she would rather send out checks than pause the federal gas tax, and I think we all know give somebody a check is better than having to save money every time you fill up gas. Let's just be honest. You give somebody a check, you give somebody cash, and they can spend it however they want. They can go get gas, they can go get groceries, they can pay their rent, they can do whatever they need to do. They can buy, get medicine, whatever it is. So you can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I will keep you up to date here with everything you need to know about on a daily basis. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel down below if you haven't yet. It's completely free to do so. After subscribing, click the bell icon next to the subscribe button that appears after you click the subscribe button. It's completely free. I'll keep you up to date here. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click this video here to see there's $15 billion in rent assistance, mortgage assistance, and utility assistance that is available. And this video shows you how to get it. And this video talks about new Social Security raises that could be coming out here as well. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.